Hello, my loves, and welcome to another episode of the Reclaim Your Fire podcast. My name is Angela Noel, and I am the host of this podcast. And this week's episode is an Encore episode. It's one that I only released back in February of this year. Specifically, it was released on February 14th, on Valentine's Day, and it is the second most downloaded episode of the podcast. So I felt it's really important to bring this one back since this is the healing series. I really truly believe that love will heal the world. Like love heals is something, it's a slogan, it's an expression that I say all the time. And obviously people need to hear this because it's been heavily downloaded. And I love this subject so much. So I'm not going to babble on and on. I'm just going to let you listen and decide for yourself. And I will be back with more guests for the podcast. I will be back with more health topics for this healing series. But until then, I trust that you will really enjoy this episode if you haven't listened to it already. So my loves, stay tuned. Hello, fire goddesses, and welcome to episode 104. In this episode today, I talk about how and why love heals and how this very concept is the most important concept when it comes to not only healing yourself, but also healing on a global level. You do not want to miss this. This is a special Valentine's Day release. Normally I release the podcast on Wednesday, but since today's Valentine's Day, I was feeling really called to release it right away. So in the episode, you're going to hear me say that it's past Valentine's Day, but I hope you enjoy this. Happy Valentine's Day. May you find love. May you find all the light and radiance within yourself this year and forever for the rest of your existence. So, fire goddesses, stay tuned. Hello, fire goddesses. Welcome to the Reclaim Your Fire podcast. My name is Angela Noel, and I am a prosperity coach for the newly awakened or awake curious, driven overachiever, and overdoer. After running a successful acupuncture practice in Boston for 12 years, I decided to hang my hat by closing the practice and pursue what it is that I'm really meant to do in this world, and that is to serve humanity online on a global scale. Using my background in Chinese medicine, along with the brain science of habits, spirituality, and divine masculine and feminine energy balance, I am here to help you not just understand, but know how powerful you are and that you are the person who is responsible for having the finances, inner peace, radiant health, and energy, aka the fire, in your life that you've always desired. My intention with this podcast is to serve humanity, no matter what gender you identify as, to help bring out the divine feminine goddess in each and every one of you. As you probably are already aware, the world is changing and is begging for the goddess to come out in each and every one of you. So, fire goddesses, stay tuned. Hello, fire goddesses, and welcome to another episode of the Reclaim Your Fire podcast. I actually had another topic in mind for this podcast, and then I realized at the time of this recording, it is Valentine's Day 2023. And I actually came on the mic with a different idea in mind. I'm still going to record that podcast, but it's going to come out much later, and that's going to be on the idea of reciprocity. But because this will be released the day after Valentine's Day of 2023, I feel like it's really important to talk about the element of love. Because I don't know about you, but as a result of being on planet Earth in this life for the amount of time, 51 years, I have observed a few things about love that are interesting to witness. And I'm really sinking into the idea that what we learn about love in society is so twisted and so backwards. But that's not really what I wanted to come on and talk about. It's not to talk about all the things that are wrong about how we interpret love, but to talk about how love is actually going to change the world. And I just wrote an Instagram post about it. You might want to check that out. I can be found at i.am.angela.noel and read that post from February 14th, 2023, where I talk about this specifically. So about 5 or 6 years ago, I've talked about this before on the podcast. I don't remember which episode. I bought a little chalkboard from, I don't know, Michael's, Target, something like that. And I felt called. It came out of nowhere. But at this point, if you've been on the spiritual path for a small amount of time, doesn't matter. You know that there are no accidents, there are no coincidences, there are no mistakes, because everything is beautifully aligned and unfolding as it should. But at the time, it seemed random. However, fast forward now to where we are in this current time, I know that there's nothing random. And what I wrote on that chalkboard that day is a mantra that I say all the time, that I use all the time. And that is love heals. Love heals. So I want to talk about that a little bit today in the spirit of Valentine's Day, because the way I feel about Valentine's Day this year is very different. And this is what I'm sensing. I am not the only one who is feeling this. And that is that Valentine's Day 2023 feels different. It feels different. Are you noticing that? Are you feeling that? Have you had conversations about this? I'd love to know. Please let me know how you're feeling about this. And, by the time you listen to this, it will no longer be the Valentine's Day, but I feel that this message is going to ring true. This is very much a message for these times. It is about the element of love, and that love really does heal. And I'm going to explain why. When I was probably in 5th or 6th grade, I made friends with a girl in my class who was really, really into this soap opera called Guiding Light. Now, I was not allowed to watch soap operas at this age. I was not really allowed to watch anything that was like too adult at that age. And I'm so grateful that, that was kind of off the table for me when I was that age, because personally, I don't really think any 11, 12-year-old kid needs to be watching that kind of stuff, whether it's a soap opera or any like kind of adult topic show, for many reasons, which is a separate conversation altogether. But there was a period of time where I think I was in 6th grade, and I would come home from school, and there was about an hour, maybe 2 hours where I was by myself. And so what did I do? I made this friend in school, and she told me about how great the soap opera Guiding Light was. And I ended up getting into this soap opera. And oh my gosh, I was so addicted to this soap opera. It was kind of crazy to think about it. But I remember thinking, again, I'm way too young to be watching this stuff. Personally, I think it's garbage for your brain, but whatever, like no judgment. If you enjoy those kinds of things, that's great. But I remember thinking that the love stories that went on in this show, Guiding Light, was a representation of reality. Because I'm like 10, 11 years old. Like, what do I know at this point, right? What do I know about love? And oh my gosh, I had to sneak around and watch this show because I was not allowed to watch it, right? So my mom would come home and she'd be like, turn that off, turn that garbage off. And thank goodness, I'm glad it wasn't encouraged that I watched this show, but I watched enough of it, to become addicted. Like I would come home from school and instantly, because it was around 3:00 is when the guiding light started, and it was just in time for me to turn on the soap opera. And no judgment of myself at this point. I was just doing what I thought I enjoyed doing, which was watching this like very addictive, suspenseful soap opera. And I just remember there were these characters that were in love, as so much of TV talks about relationships and love. And I remember thinking, oh my God, like this is what love is all about. And I know I'm not alone here, because it's not just soap operas, right? It's Disney, it's other movies, it's so much messaging in society about what love is all about. And truly, what we're shown on TV and what we're shown in society, it doesn't have to be TV. I still see it all the time in social media and the way that people talk and act and comment and all the things. And the idea that Valentine's Day is this terrible holiday where if you're not partnered with somebody, then your life is doomed, and it's a depressing day if your life isn't perfect in the love department, meaning you're partnered with somebody else. And I have to respectfully disagree. And I feel like a lot of people are still not getting it, that love is not about your relationship with other people. I mean, yes, it absolutely 100% being in love with another person. There's nothing like it. In order to have love with another individual, you need to fall in love with yourself first. And nobody teaches this. In fact, I remember up until not too long ago, that word conceited or self-absorbed or selfish, those words were often associated with the idea of self-love. Like, to love yourself was bad. To love yourself means that you're too into yourself. And I could go into this a little bit deeper, but I'm going to just keep this really basic and really simple, okay? The reason why so many people struggle in relationships is because they haven't healed themselves first, right? You have to heal your own wounds, or else those wounds are going to continue to show up in your relationship over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And there's this psychic that I follow. Her name is Elizabeth April, and I've been following her probably for, I don't know, four years or something. And I remember her saying one time that she can be completely content being by herself and not in a relationship, but she chooses to be in a relationship because it helps her understand how she needs to heal. Because whatever shows up in our relationship is what we need to work on, right? So it's not a matter of, if you have a disagreement with a partner, it has nothing to do with your partner. It has everything to do with you in the relationship and you with what you need to learn. So a lot of people don't want to look at this or see this or even spend the time to see themselves as a participant, as somebody that's just as responsible for what happens in a relationship as the other person, right? I saw that in my marriage, and I take 100% responsibility for my part in the relationship, in what happened in the relationship ending, and in the ultimate divorce. And it's through that process of seeing how things played out in my relationship, in my marriage, that is allowing me to see what I need to heal, so that when I'm in relationship with my next partner, I'm not revisiting that stuff as this ridiculous, not going into too much personal detail here, but it was tough sometimes. When you're not healed when you're not healed of your own trauma and your own shadows, and you're in a relationship with somebody who's also not healed of their trauma and their shadows, it's brutal. It's brutal. And it doesn't mean that you don't love each other. Like I think that I will always love my ex-husband for the human that he is and for how he showed up in so many beautiful ways in his everyday existence. But here's the thing. You have a choice. You can do the work and you can heal, or you can not do the work and not heal and then continue to see your stuff play out in your next relationship and your next relationship and then your next relationship. And these are the people that often say, I don't have luck with relationships. I don't have luck with women. I don't have luck with men. I am not good at this. It's not because you're not good or you don't have luck. It's not that you're a victim to your own circumstances. It's that you're choosing to not heal your trauma. And it's going to keep showing up in your life until you choose to heal it. And I know that this is going to trigger the F out of a lot of my listeners. And I warned you ahead of time that this particular episode I'm going to speak very strongly on it, because this is what I want for you. This is what I want for my followers. This is what I want for the world. This is what's necessary in order for us to move into the new earth, to new earth consciousness. We need to heal. And it starts with us, and it starts with healing ourselves first. And it starts with radical acts of self-love and learning how to love ourselves. It's not about, oh, I can't wait. I just broke up with my partner. I can't wait to get into my next partnership. It's about loving yourself, whether it means, okay, I'm going to sit in this discomfort and I'm going to be alone for a little while. I'm going to be alone until I feel that I have healed this part of myself that feels that I need to jump into my next relationship. Everybody does it, everybody does it. And it's not your fault. I just want to admit, I'm not shaming you. There's no shame here. I'm just being firm. But it's not your fault, because this is what's taught to us in society. This is what is taught to us in society. This is the way we are taught to be. And until we change that paradigm, until that shifts and it becomes more normal to just say, you know what? I am sitting out on this today. I am choosing to not date. I am choosing to not say yes to this person, whether you're dating them or not, or in the realm of people pleasing, because we're talking about self-love here. Until I heal this part of myself, and I am willing to sit with this discomfort for however long it takes. Does that make sense? Okay, I know this is, I know. I am the queen of administering those tough pills to swallow, and I am okay with taking this on. I am a strong woman, and I am okay with being that person to give you a little bit of tough medicine and tough love, because I want you to heal. I want you to heal. I want you to be happy. I want you to find that person that compliments you, right? And until you heal, this is another thing that a lot of people don't consider. Until you heal, you're going to continue to attract unhealed people who also have their stuff. And you're just going to keep playing that out and playing that out and playing that out until you choose to heal yourself and look at yourself. So there you go. You have a choice. And I'm not judging you for whatever choice that you make. I just like to always put the message out there that maybe some people don't always want to hear. But the fact that you're still listening tells me that you deep down, there's a part of you in your soul that wants and needs to hear this. So moving on, I also want to touch upon this idea of healing the world. I talk about this a lot in my messaging. I talk about this a lot, but I feel like I could talk about this and it could never really get old until the world is healed. And thinking about Valentine's Day, and sorry if it seems like I'm jumping around here, but this Valentine's Day feels really different. And the only way I can describe it is it's in the collective consciousness, I believe, because I know it's not just me that's feeling this, that's sensing this. I found myself in January going into Michael's. I went in to buy some beads, and I ended up with not finding what I needed for jewelry making, but I found all these decorations for Valentine's. And I brought them home and I took them out of the bag, and I was like so excited about these decorations. And it wasn't even like me. Like, I don't think I've ever bought a single Valentine's Day decoration in my entire life. But I was feeling really lit up when I saw these decorations, and I thought, I really need to have these this year. There's something within me that knows that I need to really celebrate love this Valentine's Day. And chances are I'm going to keep these decorations up until I move, which I am sensing is going to be sometime soon. I bought those fuzzy Valentine's Day pillows, which are adorable. I got those at World Market, not at Michael's, but they were so cute. And I ended up with 2 of them. I'm like, should I buy 1 or should I buy 2? And I was like, well, what lights me up the most? I think it's to have 2. So I bought 2, and I had to put them in. I really wanted to put them on my couch, but with Ayla, unfortunately, they really couldn't stay on my couch. So they are living on my hall tree, and they look so cute. And then I bought this heart garland, which is so cute. It just sparks so much joy. I bought this stainless steel herb separator, which I gotta say, it's one of those, it's a stainless steel heart with 3 or 4 different holes in it of different sizes. And the idea is that you put your herbs through it, you pull your herbs through it, like the stem, and it's supposed to separate the leaves from the stem. It doesn't work very well, but it's so adorable. I bought it. I love it. It sparks joy. It's another heart in my house. And then I bought these 2, a gold and a silver, I don't know, I guess it's like ceramic material, but then it has like this metallic texture over it. They're these stand-up hearts that are probably about 11 inches wide and 11 inches tall. And one sits in my kitchen on my counter, and the other one sits in my living room. And I don't know why I'm sharing what all I bought, but I guess the reason is I saw these things and they spark joy, and I bought them even though, because I'm moving and I'm purging and I've gotten rid of so many of my belongings with the divorce and everything, I found myself falling in love with the element of love, knowing that Valentine's Day is approaching. Because here's why. Love heals, as I mentioned earlier. And if you're finding yourself struggling with what's going on in the world right now, this is what needs to happen. And it's not even a matter of, no, Angela, this is your opinion. I recognize that I'm totally flexible here in saying, when it is my opinion, or when I have a feeling or when I have a thought, I'm willing to accept the fact that this is just my thought and this is my feeling. But this is something that I feel called to share with you that is in my knowing. And when it comes to my knowing, very, very rarely am I wrong. And I feel like I need to share this, and you can do with this information whatever you want to do with it. But if you're not happy in your life, if you're not happy with whatever it is, whether it's your love life or your health or your home life or with what you're manifesting, if you don't like what you're seeing going on in the world, if you don't like the way others are behaving or the way other people are being treated, if you're not happy with the injustices of the world, this is what needs to happen. You need to heal yourself. Are you noticing a theme here? Are you noticing a theme? Because it's not about the other people. It's not about the government creating the right policies. It's not about the nonprofits creating more programs to help more people. Those are all really important, yes. And if you're feeling called, like if that's your dharma to do these things, then do them. Like right now, I'm living my dharma by helping you grow and evolve. But if you are unhappy with the state of the world, the best thing that you can do is to be in the element of love. So when I say element, it's not just about romantic love. It's not just about the love you have for the people in your life. It's being in the energy and the vibration of love and cultivating that every single day. This is a choice. This is not something, so if you're listening to this and you're saying, well, it's easier for you to say, Angela, because you're you or whatever. Trust me when I say this. I am no different. I need to work on this every single day of my life. Okay? There's days that I'm not always in the element of love. There's days where I'm not always feeling high vibe. That is the work. And it always is about, for me personally, returning to my self-love, to my self-love practices. What is it that's going to make me feel better mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually? What is going to best help me feel my best? Some days, it's nothing. It's about just laying in my bed and napping. Sometimes it's just about being out in the sunlight or taking a walk with Ayla. A lot of times it's not about doing a lot of things for me personally. This is just me and this is my energy. If you don't know what works for you, then you might want to dive into your human design or work with a coach that can help you understand that part of yourself. Because now more than ever, as the world changes and evolves, we're being called to seriously up level. And as my friend Shauna and I always say, buck up. We actually say buck the F up, but to buck up. So how does that look for you? How is that going to be for you? Is it going to make you feel uncomfortable? Probably. Probably, because it's a change. And you know what? I was talking to a friend of mine today earlier, and I think I'm going to do a podcast about this too. She posted something on her Instagram account about how, what did it say? Okay, so one of my oldest friends, she posted this thing today that I have to share. It's a meme. It says, the funny thing is, when you don't let people disrespect you, they start calling you difficult. So, and it's funny because last night I was talking with my parents about, I don't know, we had a glass of wine or two and we were just chatting because I'm visiting my parents right now. And we were just talking about how people can be perceived as difficult when they speak up for themselves. And then it's interesting because then my friend posts this the next day. And so I got into this conversation with my friend about it. And she's like, yeah, it's interesting. Once I decided to start not allowing people to disrespect me and I started speaking up for myself, people started to say things like, oh, she's changed, or, oh, I don't really like the direction that she's going in. And it's merely because she stopped people pleasing that these people were saying this. And so this is what I'm talking about, right? It's about loving yourself so much that you start to take actions that align with your higher self and your higher being in a higher vibrational state. So sometimes that means that you're going to do things that other people are not going to like, because when you're used to a life of people pleasing, when you're used to a life of diminishing yourself, when you're used to a life of low self-worth, other people are going to perceive you a certain way when you start to behave differently, when you start to practice more self-love by not allowing other people to disrespect you, as an example. So what that means for you is that you need to get uncomfortable with this. And it's not always going to feel great. It's not always going to feel awesome to know that people think that you change. And here's the thing, my mentor says this to me all the time. What other people think of you is none of your business. It's none of your business. And this is how I self-evaluate every single day. Like, I'm often in this place where I'll do something that's really uncomfortable or that will make me feel vulnerable, and I end up having these like vulnerability hangovers. And not to say I'm perfect or this is the perfect way, I'm just using myself as an example, is often I ask myself, what would I rather have? This discomfort because I am truly aligning to who I am, or the pain and discomfort of continuing to people please and diminish myself. diminish my brightness, diminish my light. So I invite you to ask yourself that same question, because let's go back to the globalization of what's happening right now on this earth. If you are finding that, whatever word you want to use, corruption, evil, greed, if you're not liking those human qualities that you're seeing on planet Earth, the best thing that you can do is change yourself. Sitting around with your friends and talking about how terrible everything is not going to change anything. It might make you feel better because it's going to enforce a sense of community, right? And we all need community. We all need connection with our friends and the people in our lives, but it doesn't really change anything. It's not going to change anything by you sitting around and talking about all of the things that are going wrong in your life. You need to make the choice. You have free will. You have been given this incredible opportunity to change your life if you don't like the way that your life is going. And that is, I'm talking about on a personal level, but I'm also talking about on a global level. So love heals, love wins. And I can't emphasize this enough. So that is my message for this Valentine's Day 2023. If you're like many people, you're feeling the shift. You're feeling this Valentine's Day just feels a little bit different. It might feel a little bit less about needing to go out and buy the flowers and all the obligatory Hallmark holiday things. But it's more about this global shift. It's more about this knowing, whether you know consciously or not. You might already know this on a subconscious or an unconscious level, that this shift that we are experiencing in this world really relies on how we show up every single day. Every single day. It shows up as how we treat ourselves, how we treat each other, how we treat strangers, how we treat other people that we don't agree with, how we treat people on an airplane if they're doing things that you don't like. And it's about how we conduct ourselves every single day. What are we allowing to take away our personal power? Who are we allowing to steal our peace? Because all of this is a choice. And once again, I can't emphasize this enough. It really comes down to you falling in love with yourself first. And if this sounds preposterous, if this sounds ridiculous, if this sounds aggressive, any of these things that I'm saying in the podcast, this is an opportunity for you to self-reflect. Because if you don't know this at a very core level, and this is not my intention to tell you what to do, tell you what to think, but if you're being triggered by this in any kind of way, this is an opportunity for you to self-reflect and ask yourself this question: why am I being triggered? Or why does this sound preposterous? Or why does this sound ridiculous? Because all I'm doing is just being the messenger at this point. I'm just delivering a message that's coming from a space way higher than me. As you know, I don't create notes when I podcast. I just go. It's flow. It's channeling. And this is what the truth is right here. So on this Valentine's Day, I invite you to consider how you can really be in the element of love more. How can you show up and be in the vibration of love more? And I'm not just talking about the emotion of love and falling in love. You know, sometimes love looks like letting go of somebody that you love. You know what I mean? It means that you love somebody so much, but you love yourself more, that it's in the best interest for yourself and even for that other person to let them go. It's about loving yourself so much that you know that you need to get out of the comfort zone and detach. So what does this look like for you? And you know, many people would never get this far in this podcast. Many people in the world are unwilling to do the work. But why is this important? Why are you still listening? It's because chances are there's something that's in my words that's resonating with you, even if it's on a soul level. And most likely you are being called to help elevate the consciousness of this planet by being in this work. So I know I gave you a lot to ponder, but I really appreciate you listening to the very end. And I really, really would love to hear your takeaways. There are a couple of you that message me and say, I listened to your podcast on X, Y, and Z. Thank you. It really helped me. I can't tell you how much those messages mean. And, obviously it's not for me. I don't need to hear that kind of validation. But it also helps me know that I'm really on the right track with living my Dharma. So thank you for listening. I really appreciate you more than you know. And until next time, remember to be radiant, be powerfully authentic, and know that you can reclaim your fire at any time. Take care. Bye. Hi, this is Angela Noel, and thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you have found value in listening to this podcast, I would be so grateful if you could kindly share this podcast with those you care about. Please help me spread the word of empowerment and possibility and expansion by sharing this podcast. Or you could also leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Remember to follow me on Instagram at I am Angela Noel, or you could go to my website at www.angelanoelinternational.com to learn more about my work and to find out how you can work with me. Thank you very much.